story time with Killian Flynn. Be sure to share, subscribe, and like our story. The story is The Quiet in Room 6. Elena Stroud didn't believe in bad omens, but she was willing to reconsider. The Windmere Rest Lodge sat on the side of Route 119, cloaked in mist and the smell of wet asphalt. The glowing neon sign flickered unevenly between Windmere and D. Rest, buzzing like a dying fly. She had passed 3 larger hotels before pulling in here. All full. This was the only place that had a vacancy. A single room. Room 6. The man behind the front desk looked like he'd been there since the place opened. White hair slicked flat, yellowed name tag that read Harold, and a neck mole the size of a nickel. He didn't ask for much. Just ID. Card. A signature in the old-fashioned guest ledger, bound in cracked leather and sticky with humidity. She paused as she signed her name. Something about the book felt wrong, like it was too light, too clean. The names above hers were faint, blurred by water or time, ink faded into ghosts. And the last entry before hers was from 7 years ago. She blinked. Before she could ask, Harold slid the key across the counter. A real key. Metal. Room 6. No smile. No instructions. Just a nod and a quiet, flat. It's just one night. Elena stepped into the lot. The building was long and narrow, 6 rooms, all facing a cracked asphalt parking strip. The door to room 6 sat at the far end, partially shadowed by an overgrown hedge and the flicker of a dying porch bulb. The other rooms were dark. No movement, no curtains shifting. It felt empty. She tried not to let the silence get to her. Just a weird little place. One night, sleep, gone by morning. The room was clean, at least. Not modern. Outdated wallpaper, floral curtains, a CRT television perched on a bolted-down dresser. But it didn't smell like mold. The bed looked unused. Bathroom stocked. Elena kicked off her shoes, tossed her duffel onto the chair, and locked the door behind her. 3 times. Habit. Her last job had been at a psych unit outside St. Paul. She'd seen what people were capable of when they wanted inside. She double-checked the windows, turned on the AC unit to mask the outside silence, and finally, sat on the edge of the bed. The room was fine. It was fine, until she turned off the light. First, it was just the quiet. Too quiet. Not the gentle hush of a roadside town. Not the peaceful stillness of a night alone. This was a heavy, unnatural quiet. The kind that made you notice your own heartbeat. The kind that felt like it was watching you. She lay on her back, eyes open in the dark. The AC hummed. The neon sign outside flickered red against the edge of the curtain. And something moved. Not a loud noise, just a shift, like a sigh, or a breath. From the corner, Elena sat up. The lamp snapped on. She looked around. Nothing. Just her bag, the dresser, the blank screen of the TV, and the old patterned wallpaper. She exhaled. Stress. Fatigue. She hadn't slept more than 4 hours in 3 days. Her body needed to adjust. She turned the light off again, laid back, closed her eyes, and then, thump, a soft, dull sound. Beneath the bed. She didn't move, didn't breathe, waited, listened. Nothing. Thump, again, right below her. She bolted upright and turned on the lamp again. Stillness. Nothing out of place. But the noise had been real. Not a dream. Not her imagination. It had been directly beneath her. She slid off the bed slowly, kneeled, lifted the bedspread. There was nothing under there, except a small, square mark on the carpet, like something had been there, heavy, for a long time, and was recently moved. Elena sat back on her heels, heart tapping against her ribs. Her phone was still in her duffel. She pulled it out and opened the flashlight, swiped around the room again. Still empty. But now that the thought had rooted itself, she couldn't shake the feeling that the room had shifted. Not in a visible way, but in weight, in presence. She moved to the bathroom to splash cold water on her face. When she looked up into the mirror, she saw someone standing behind her. Flash, a silhouette, not full, not formed, but tall. Watching, she spun around. Empty. Just the yellow-tiled floor, her towel, the door cracked open to the bedroom. No one there. She backed away from the mirror, throat tight. A joke. A hallucination. Maybe she was sicker than she thought. But then, the lights flickered. The AC unit died, and the television in the bedroom clicked on. By itself. Volume low. Static hissing through the room. Elena stepped out of the bathroom, every hair on her body standing up. The remote sat untouched on the dresser. She crossed the room, hit the power button. The TV screen went black, then blinked back on. This time, not static. A grainy video, security footage, of a motel room. Room 6. She knew it. Same bedspread, same wallpaper, but the timestamp was from 7 years ago. And on the screen, a man paced the room, frantic, muttering, then sat on the bed and stared at the camera. Stared into it, as if he was staring into her, and whispered, "It doesn't like when you turn the light off." Elena stared at the screen. The man was still staring back. The footage was grainy, like an old VHS left in a dusty attic too long. He sat on the edge of the same bed she had just been lying in. Same posture, same fidgeting hands. He looked tired, worn in the way people get when they haven't slept in weeks. Not physically exhausted, but mentally hollow. The timestamp on the footage blinked. 3:19 a.m., August 17th, 2016. 7 years ago to the day. Her stomach twisted. The man leaned forward on the screen. He opened his mouth again. "It watches from the floor first," he said. "Then the walls. Then the mirror." Elena's mouth was dry. He turned his head, slowly, toward the spot where the TV sat now. "If you see this," he said, "leave." The screen went black. No static, no sound, just off. She stepped back. Her calf hit the edge of the bed, and she nearly dropped the phone in her hand. She wanted to call someone, anyone, but what would she say? "I'm in a motel room and the ghost TV warned me to leave?" No one would believe her, and she wasn't ready to believe herself. Not yet. She opened her phone's camera and started filming the room. She swept slowly across the walls, the ceiling, the carpet. Nothing unusual, but when she turned the camera toward the mirror, a flicker, just for a split second. A woman's reflection standing behind her. Pale face, eyes blacked out. Elena spun. Nothing there. She played the footage back. The figure wasn't on the video, but she'd seen it. And worse, she could still feel it, like something cold brushing the back of her neck. She turned on every single light in the room. The table lamp, the ceiling fixture, the bathroom vanity. She even turned the AC back on, if only for the noise. She wasn't sleeping tonight. She just had to make it until morning. One night, that was all. She pulled the guest ledger from her duffel bag. She had grabbed it instinctively while leaving the lobby. She told herself it was curiosity, but deep down it felt like something told her to take it. She flipped through the pages again. Most of the names were faded, water-warped, some scratched out, but the name just above hers was still legible. Darren Kessler, the man in the video. She Googled it. No immediate results. Then she searched for Darren Kessler Windmere Lodge. One result. A tiny local newspaper archive. No photo. Just a headline. Man found dead in motel room after 3 days. Authorities say natural causes. August 20th, 2016. 3 days after the timestamp in the video. Room 6. Elena stared at the screen. A man alone in a motel room. Dead for 3 days before anyone noticed. That wasn't strange. But nothing about this was natural. She looked at the spot where he had sat in the video. Felt different now. Charged. Like someone had just stood up and walked away. The lights flickered. Every single one. All at once. The room went dark. And stayed dark. Elena scrambled for her phone flashlight. The second it turned on, she saw the mirror. Words had been written across it in fog. "Don't turn around." She froze. Her breath caught in her throat. She didn't want to know what was behind her, but something moved in the reflection, just out of frame. A shoulder, then a head, tilting, as if it were examining her. She turned, and again, nothing. But the light above the sink popped loudly, plunging the bathroom into complete darkness. She fled back into the main room, locking the bathroom door behind her like it would do any good. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She was done. She needed to get out. She grabbed her bag, her keys, and bolted for the door. The lock jammed. She yanked, twisted. It wouldn't turn. Some force was keeping her inside. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Hello. No voice, just breathing. Then, turn off the light. Click. She threw her phone across the bed, backing away, her breath ragged and short. The lights flickered again. All of them, then died. The only thing that remained was the soft, red glow of the neon sign outside room 6, filtering in through the curtains like blood and water. And in the dark, she heard it. The whisper. Not a voice, not words, just the presence of sound crawling along the walls. Something was in the room with her. Something that had been here long before she ever stepped inside. Then, a shape moved near the foot of the bed. She saw it in silhouette, tall, lurking, watching, like it had always been there. It began to crawl forward, slowly, until it reached the edge of the mattress. Elena couldn't scream. She couldn't move. She could only hear it breathing, right next to her ear. Then, it whispered, "Now you understand." Elena could smell it now. Something sour, like damp rot and singed hair. She didn't know if she was imagining it or if the presence, actually gave off a scent. The whisper was still there, curling in her ears like smoke. Now you understand. Understand what? That the room was alive? That it held memories like parasites, feeding off those who stepped inside and tried to leave? Her hand crept blindly toward her phone, still on the bed. She touched the edge of it, and the whisper snapped. "Don't look." She looked anyway. There was nothing on the bed, nothing visible, but the indentation was there. Something had been sitting beside her. Something had weight, and it had whispered in her ear. She grabbed the phone and turned the flashlight on again. The light swung wildly across the room. Nothing, just shadows where there shouldn't be shadows. She ran to the door. The lock still wouldn't budge. She twisted, slammed her shoulder into it, rattled the handle. Still stuck. Room 6 wasn't letting her go. She slumped to the floor beside the door, chest heaving. "What do you want from me?" she whispered. Silence. Then, the bathroom door creaked open. By itself, her flashlight flickered. She aimed it toward the opening. The mirror was fogged again. New words appeared. "Say my name." Elena's mouth went dry. She stood slowly, cautiously, walked into the bathroom. The air felt thicker in here, charged, like a thunderstorm about to crack. She stared into the mirror. The fog pulsed once more, letters appearing slowly like condensation etching memories. "Say my name." Then below it, faintly, "Darren, the man from the video, the man who died in this room. His name." She opened her mouth. "Darren." The lights in the bathroom burst, showering sparks across the sink. But her reflection didn't move. She did, but the mirror didn't follow. Her reflection was frozen, and it was smiling. She stumbled back, the reflection's head tilted, not like a person, like a puppet. Then its hand lifted and pointed, not at her, at the wall behind her. Elena turned. The wallpaper had peeled back, revealing something carved into the drywall. A grid, tic-tac-toe pattern, 9 squares, each filled with numbers, dates. The center square, August 17th, 2016, the day Darren Kessler died. The square below that, August 17th, 2023, today, her square. This wasn't random. This wasn't a haunting. This was a ritual. Room 6 wasn't haunted by Darren. It had taken him, like it was collecting people, memories, moments, like it was trying to fill something, complete something. She touched the wall gently, tracing the date. And that's when she felt the heat. The wall pulsed. Something was moving behind it, like it was breathing. She stepped back, flashlight trembling in her grip. The mirror cracked down the center. A sharp snap, and her reflection smiled wider. The main room lights flared on, every bulb at once. Then off, then on again, a pulsing rhythm, like a heartbeat. She walked back out, slow and wary. Room 6 looked unchanged, except now the TV was back on, playing a new video. Another timestamp, August 17th, 2023, 3:21 a.m. Her, sitting on the bed. Just moments ago, she watched herself stare at the screen, then look toward the mirror, then whisper the name, then turn. Then, in the video, something stepped out from behind her. A shape, faceless, stretched, silent. It leaned close, whispered something, and the Elena on screen began to cry. The real Elena couldn't move, couldn't blink, couldn't breathe. The screen flickered again. Another face appeared. Not hers, not Darren, someone else. A little girl, eyes dark, dress tattered. No sound, just her staring into the screen. And behind her, room 6 again. Elena's body moved before her mind did. She grabbed her bag, the ledger, her phone, everything, and hurled herself at the door, again and again. Finally, with a crack, it opened. She stumbled into the lot, sucking in air like she'd been drowning. It was still dark outside. No cars, no people, no lights in the other rooms. Only room 6 glowed, and the shape in the window, staring out at her, watching. She turned, ran to her car, fired up the engine, didn't look back, didn't blink, didn't breathe until the motel was a dot in the rearview mirror. She didn't stop driving until the sun rose, and even then, the air felt wrong, heavy, like something had come with her. When she stopped at a rest area to breathe, she opened her bag to get her charger and found the guest ledger, still inside, still open. Her name was there, but now, a new name was written below it, one she didn't recognize. August 18th, 2023, 3:16 a.m. Room 6 had found its next guest. The highway felt endless. Elena's hands gripped the steering wheel until her knuckles turned white. The sign for Windmere Lodge had disappeared behind her hours ago, but room 6 hadn't let go. She could still feel it in her skin. That cold, that weight, like something had touched her and left fingerprints under the surface. And no matter how far she drove, it was still there. She pulled off the road at a gas station around sunrise. The place was quiet. A single pump and a glass storefront plastered with old lotto ads and sun-faded notices. Inside, the clerk didn't look up. Elena wandered the aisles aimlessly, barely seeing the shelves. Her body moved, but her mind was somewhere else. Back in that room, in front of the mirror, back when the air hummed with voices that didn't belong to the living. She paid for coffee and aspirin, hands trembling. The clerk finally looked up, paused, then said, almost absently, "You've been to the lodge." Elena's chest tightened. "What?" The man blinked slowly. His eyes were dull, like something inside had stopped firing years ago. He just nodded toward her neck. She touched it instinctively, felt the cold welt, like a fingerprint burned into her skin. The man said nothing else. She grabbed her things and left. Back in the car, she checked her rearview mirror. Her eyes looked older somehow, and for a moment, her reflection didn't blink. She reached the next town by midday, checked into a roadside inn, insisted on a room with no mirrors. They gave her room 4. The woman at the desk glanced at her and said, "At least it's not 6. Elena's hand froze halfway through signing her name. "What did you say?" The woman shrugged. "Oh, travelers are superstitious. They always ask for any room except 6. That night, she slept with the lights on, the TV unplugged, the curtains closed. Still, at 3:19 a.m., she sat up in bed, cold sweat clinging to her neck. The digital clock blinked. 3:19. Same time the video in room 6 had shown. She got up, crossed the room, checked the bathroom. The mirror had fogged, even though she hadn't used the water. And in the center, in the condensation, her name. The next day, She booked an appointment with a parapsychologist in the city. She wanted answers, even if they were lies. The doctor listened politely, took notes. When she finished recounting what happened, he tapped his pen thoughtfully. "Room 6, you said?" "Yes." He nodded. "That room's popped up before. Not always the same motel, not even the same state, but the same pattern." Elena blinked. "What do you mean?" The doctor leaned in. "There's a theory that some locations don't just host things. They become them. Rooms that eat memory, feed on repetition. Names, moments, trauma. The more people enter them, the more they learn. And the more they need." Elena's voice was dry. "So what happens next?" The man's eyes were flat. "It follows you." She didn't go home. She didn't tell anyone what happened. But every night after that, she made sure she was somewhere new. A different bed, a different building. She stayed on the move. She didn't answer blocked calls. She unplugged every TV before entering a room. And every now and then, she saw a fogged-up mirror, or a guest ledger with faded names, or a motel clerk who looked like they knew what she'd seen. But she never spoke of it. She never went back, because she didn't have to. Room 6 was never just one place. It was a pattern, a door waiting to be opened, a story that kept needing a new name to write. And it had hers now. 3 months later, Elena Stroud disappeared. No trace, no car, no phone pings, no credit card activity. Her friends filed reports. Her landlord found her apartment empty, clean, but the bedroom mirror was shattered, glass missing. The last person to speak to her was a clerk at a small coastal motel in Oregon. They remembered her checking in late, just before midnight. She looked tired, polite, said she just needed a place for one night. They gave her a key. Room 6. The clerk remembered joking about how guests always avoided that one. She didn't laugh, just said, "It's already mine." The next morning, the door was locked from the inside, but she was gone. The window hadn't been opened. The lock hadn't been broken, just gone. And on the bed, a guest ledger, tattered, ink-stained, her name signed at the bottom, and below that, space for one more. They closed the motel a week later. Rumors spread. Another ghost story in a town already full of them. But somewhere in another city, another state, another place waiting to forget itself, Room 6 waits. It will be a different key, a different building, but the same walls, the same breath, the same mirror that fogs without heat, and a ledger quietly asking for a name. Any name, yours maybe, because if there's one thing Room 6 knows, it's how to wait, and you always turn the light off eventually. The end. Thank you for listening to Storytime with Killian Flynn. If you like his stories, go ahead and read some of his books. Check out his bio, links, and description. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to this podcast.